arriving in U.S. mail from St. Louis in the original de Havilland DH-4 biplane in 10 bulky gunny sacks are the combined audiobook renditions and supplemental background information as presented in podcast form by moi, me, Robert P. Fitton. Good evening to one and all, wherever in the galaxy you make your home. Well, our time traveler is about to awaken in a C-54 transport plane over the Caribbean, still in 1961. A high-level CIA employee is accompanying him to a training base in Central America, where the agency and the exiles, in order to see who he is really working for, will attempt to unravel Patch's time travel story. This eventually means Dr. Braun, a ruthless, exotic drug experimenter of human beings for the CIA. Let's enter the interior of the C-54 as Patch's journey brings him to Central America in Part 6 of the Kennedy Paradox. Chapter 21, C-54 Transport over the Caribbean, March 24th, 1961, 3:15 a.m. As he emerged from a deep sleep, Patch questioned whether they had laced his hot chocolate drink with a sleep-inducing drug. Dozing now, he remembered laughing on the couch at a young Johnny Carson on the Ed Sullivan Show. His entire body now vibrated as he lay on a blanket. Supply boxes and weapons were packed inside a cold cargo bay. He figured he was in a C-54 transport and heading toward a training camp. His strength had been drained by the drug, but he sat up. To his left, a dark-haired man with brown-rimmed glasses and a tie loosened looked over his seat. He immediately spun onto his feet when he saw Patch. He squatted down and held Patch's shoulder. "Are you all right, Patch?" "I missed the end of Ed Sullivan." He smiled and emitted a grunting laugh. "I'm Bill Pladen." Patch shook his hand. "Patch Kincaid. Patch, I wanted to personally meet you. I'm not one to question stories, nor am I concerned with your loyalties such as Stephen Higgins." "Whatever happened to Higgins?" asked Patch, holding his temples. His head ached. "That's an interesting question. Word is they debriefed him in Havana. He's still in Cuba. We're working with people to kill him." "You don't waste any time, do you?" "Can you come up to the seats?" asked Pladen. Patch nodded, and Pladen helped him to his feet. He held Patch's elbow and steered him out of the cargo bay. Patch slipped into the vinyl seat, and Pladen quickly handed him a bottle of Coca-Cola. Patch let the carbonated sugary drink trickle down his throat. "Thanks." "You specifically knew Higgins would defect. You knew the area where he would defect, and you knew approximately where, and you knew approximately when he would defect." "Yes, I did," said Patch, taking a gulp. The bubbles tickled his throat and he coughed. "Packs a wallop, probably laced with truth serum." "No, it's just plain old Coke. Are you able to tell me exactly who gave you this information about Higgins? Because it doesn't matter now, with the doctor gone over to the other side." Patch turned from the window. "Came from 1986. Ray Meinkewitz told me about Higgins defecting at the beginning of March 1961. Ray has told us that you mentioned an individual of Castro's 26th of July movement. Who was it?" Patch studied Pladen's slick-back auburn hair. No comment. "You mentioned this future terrorist is going to kill members of organized crime. That's, inside information. Can I verify this?" "I don't know, Mr. Pladen." Patch finished the Coke. "You want another?" "I'm all set." "Spence Turtling. You met him on the Rex. He's made personal trips with these men." "Organized crime?" "Yes, because they're cooperating with us to kill Fidel Castro. We've also had Dan Presslin speak on one specific member." "Who's that?" asked Patch. Pladen smiled. "Who's asking the questions, Patch? Dan spoke with Johnny Rosselli. He knows Johnny personally. Now that I've leveled with you, did Castro himself authorize these killings through this man? A man whose name has eluded me." Patch smiled. "Sure his name will pop up?" "Suit yourself. We'll be landing soon. A member of the brigade, Felipe Delgado, will personally drive you to base camp. Please remember that base tracks, like everything else you have heard on the Rex, and any other discussion you had with agency personnel, is classified. Break security and you'll be dealt with accordingly. Is that clear?" "I figured as much." Looks like you're invading Cuba now. Pladen shrugged his shoulders. I'd bet money on it. Pladen smiled and fully loosened his tie. You do that, Captain. You do that. Base tracks. Finca Helvetia, Guatemala, March 24th, 1961, 10:35 a.m. The runway buzzed with air traffic along a series of aluminum-roof sheds that comprised the tiny command center. A pointed deep blue mountain and a tapering range provided a secure backdrop for the camp. More mountains shielded the faraway runway. Pladen handed sunglasses to Patch, and the two men walked on the gritty soil along the mammoth, olive-coated C-54. I flew one of these babies in Germany back in 1978. You mean West Germany, said Pladen, giving him an expression that crossed between confused and amazed. And 1978 is 17 years from now, Patch. You can drop that time travel story down here. The bend, along the yellowed grass, the Jeep pulled to an abrupt stop. It's the truth. The Soviet Union fell. Pladen looked over his glasses like a professor challenging a student. The Soviets fall? You can do better than that. He looked across the runway. I see the chauffeur has arrived. Patch studied the huge plane. Maximum speed, 275 miles an hour. Cruise speed, 190. Range, 4,000 miles. I'm impressed with your C-54 knowledge, but not the Soviet story. I flew the damn plane. Okay, you flew the damn plane. Come on. He motioned Patch over to a wide-faced, smiling Cuban in a deep green uniform at the wheel. Patch Kincaid, meet Felipe Delgado. Hello, son of a bitch. You know me? Asked Patch, and they all laughed. Listen, Patch, said Pladen, shaking his hand. Tomorrow you and I will meet with the Director of Operations, Chester Danold. He's flying down from Washington. You want driving back with us? Not right now. I have to check some logistical things here on the Strip, the pending military operation. He extended his hand again. You got me believing your story. Good. Pladen nodded and started back along the runway. He wrote something into a blue spiral notebook and then tucked it back in his coat. Patch climbed into the passenger side. Never been to Guatemala. Felipe shifted and laughed. Guatemala? They told me we were in Australia. Ha ha ha! Exhaust leaked into the warm, humid air as they traveled inland on a narrow road through a dense thicket. Military trucks and troops wearing green baseball caps appeared in the clearing where the road ended. Two United States servicemen in undershirts were demonstrating the proper use of ordnance in the encampment ahead. The Jeep bounced over the grassy field, bordering the all Army-issued tents and military equipment. Felipe slowed to an adjacent long building with a corrugated roof. You're going to talk today, senor. I am. Felipe stepped from the Jeep. A black .45 pistol protruded from his tan leather holster, and bullet cartridges crossed his chest. He pointed to a long structure to his right. More buildings squared off in the clearing ahead. The camp is ready, Patch. Look, headquarters, even a classroom. You want to pray for a victory, you go to the chapel and back. A more fortified structure behind him, possibly an armament storage, bordered what Felipe called La Prison. They walked along the stacked-up buildings. A single building with supper aromas made him hungry. They headed behind the kitchen toward a huge olive tent with mosquito netting around the perimeter. You must have been brought here, son of a bitch, to see what men have to do when they are thrown out of their homeland. I have been ordered by the brigade commander to find out what you know. That is why I say you are going to talk today. What do you want to know? Asked Patch. The truth. He motioned with his hand around the clearing. I want you to appreciate people who have lost their country, compadre. What if I don't have answers, Felipe Delgado? Felipe ripped the gun from his holster. Then you will see what reality is really like, senor. He pointed the gun at Patch's head. Patch felt the barrel push through his hair onto his skull. You can kill me, but you won't get any new information. And I don't think you realize, compadre, I am not going to kill you. I am going to blow your head off. Ha ha ha! Patch felt the continued pressure of the gun barrel against his temple. With a large grin on his face, Felipe glanced to his unsmiling friends gathered outside the tent. Felipe, this is a more complicated problem than you think. I need to know people who have a connection inside Cuba. This is a very simple problem, compadre. He looked at his men. Get out of here, men! They scattered like frightened chickens in a barnyard. Felipe turned back to Patch. These people, they listen too much. I have hundreds of contacts, compadre. El Leopardo wouldn't approve, would he, Felipe? Felipe tilted his head. Carlos Sánchez? Yes, Carlos Sánchez. Santa mierda. Why the hell would you be looking for Carlos, man? Do you know what they're going to do to you when they find this out, Patch? Well, don't tell them. I know he's a traitor, Felipe. He's a traitor to your cause and a friend to Castro. He plays both sides. Felipe tightened his eyes and rubbed his hand over his mouth. You know where he is right now? Thought maybe you'd want to tell me. You know that, compadre. Come with me. He motioned Patch outside. They exited the tent and walked through the busy compound. Felipe said nothing till they reached the outskirts of the camp. More supplies and stacked wood boxes lined the buildings. Felipe moved over to the latrine behind the building, unzipped his pants and peed onto the dirt. Patch quickly did the same.
Listen, I will call Choden and tell him you are looking for Carlos. This is not good. Fucking Ashcam will end up down here himself.
They will have people down from D.C., man.
Fletcher Knight wants Zapata to go smoothly.
I will call him personally. We don't need people from D.C. down here. He sipped up his fly. Who are you, Patch? Are you working for the Soviets? No, he answered, still peeing. You are a fucking camel. Patch pulled up his zipper. They started back to the tent. If you are working for the Reds, this thing is too important to us. You've got people here, Patch, that have been exiled and think Castro is a bastard. If they cannot gain a victory, they will go back to the Escambray, hide in the mountains, and then go after Castro, like he went after Batista. Then we've got the U.S. government and their interests. We've got Traficante, Marcelo, and the rest of their crowd drooling to get back into Cuba. I used to work the casinos, man. Ran the nightclub in the casino. I wore a white tux to work every night. You never know that now, would you, compadre? Who exactly is Traficante? A smile covered Felipe's round face, and he laughed deeply. You are a sly. Who is Traficante? That is not the question of the hour, my friend. They are going to want to know that too, exactly why you are looking for Carlos, how you know him and who you are. That has saved your ass so far. Traficante got everything when his padre died, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Felipe escorted into a jeep so new that Patch smelled the fresh green paint. The Cubans shifted the gears quickly and accelerated like a stock car driver around the camp. As Felipe spun the wide tires through the dirt, Patch studied the prodigious amount of equipment and camouflage-covered supplies off to the side. While he did see many American advisors here, the place housed mostly Cubans. Felipe spoke as if he had personally constructed every building, unloaded every supply box, and trained the men. He said he headed an elite division, that he would be in the first assault on the Cuban beaches. Felipe slowed the jeep. In the chess game, Patch wanted to contemplate their next move. Carlos Sánchez remained elusive, and killing him remained his only option. The jeep spun up the dirt on a mountain road. They were near the edge of a deep valley, and Patch wondered if Felipe planned to shoot him. Felipe steered the jeep onto a level area with crushed stones. Then he parked next to a cinder block shack overlooking the camp below. To the rear, a silver tripod antenna hovered above the bush. "Follow me," said Felipe, and he jogged toward the shack. Several armed Cuban guards let them inside, and Felipe commandeered the shortwave radio on the bench under the cinder blocks. "Okay, everybody out of here." He pointed at Patch. The room immediately emptied and the metal door closed. Felipe flipped 2 switches and held the microphone. X5, X5.
X5 acknowledged.
X5 TM/APLET.
TM applet connect.
Felipe nodded to Patch and waited with the microphone in hand. The scratchy voice sounded distant.
X5, this is TM applet.
The cargo is Carlos Sánchez.
Understood. Replay 1600 hours.
Check.
Are you with